Hi everyone, this is Pastor Jen. This is a slideshow that I've put together to outline what you can expect over the rest of the year when it comes to worship. Before I get started, I want to say that while we will have more and more opportunities to get together in person as a church, we still won't be back to normal for a while. This is important to know because if we expect that our gatherings will be like they were in the past, we might be disappointed. But if we know that this is a gradual return, step by step, then we might be more encouraged, knowing that we're moving in the right direction, even if we're not where we want to be right now. I also want to say that we will get back to normal. One day, I don't know when, but one day we will shake hands or hug, we will sing in worship and sit close to one another without masks or worry. It will happen. But it's going to take time if we want to make sure that none of our members or their families or loved ones will get sick because of what we do here. So this slideshow is designed to help us develop a shared understanding of what we do when we get together to lower the risk of spreading COVID. Now, I know that not everyone is going to agree with what I'm going to outline. Some people may feel that we're moving too fast, while others may feel we're not moving fast enough. If you're uncomfortable with any of this, you do not have to participate. It's totally up to you. We will always provide an online option for worship. So if you don't feel comfortable wearing a mask, or if you don't feel comfortable being around more than just your family, we will still be able to stay connected with each other through the online worship. And as always, you can call me anytime with your concerns. This slide shows the 3 different benchmarks that the state of Arizona has released to determine the level of community spread. A substantial spread, which is marked by the color red, means that there is greater than 100 cases per 100,000 people. The percent of positive cases is greater than or equal to 10%, and COVID-like illnesses make up 10% or more of hospital admissions. Moderate level spread means 10 to 100 cases per 100,000 individuals, 5 to 10% positivity, and 5 to 10% COVID-like cases in hospital admissions. Minimal spread means that less than 10 cases per 100,000, less than 5% positivity rate, and less than 5% of COVID-like admissions. This chart shows the data for all counties in Arizona at the current status. You can see at the right-hand side at the top of the page that the status is moderate. This is currently true of Maricopa County at this time. This slide shows the requirements for each of the 3 thresholds for community spread. If you look at the middle row, the moderate row, you can see that the requirements are the following: occupancy limited to 50%, hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette, enhanced cleaning, proper ventilation, symptom screening for staff, masks, distancing, concession area policies, and childcare. You will notice that these requirements are for indoor theaters, which is similar in structure to church services. In addition, recommendations for church services include no singing and no communion. So in short, the good news is that we're in the moderate stage and we can gather in person. The challenge is that as we consider in-person gatherings, all of these requirements will need to be in place. Before I describe how we are going to incorporate the requirements into our worship service, I want to consider a model projection of what may lie ahead in November and December. This chart is a graph from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation out of the University of Washington State. This model projects the possible trajectory of the infection rate and death rate, among other factors. Now, all models are theoretical and therefore they aren't perfect, but they can be helpful in considering certain circumstances. I've been watching this particular model since the beginning of the pandemic. In May, it predicted that Arizona would have the highest transmission rate in the country by July. I was skeptical at the time, but unfortunately, it proved to be true. And so I have a reasonable amount of confidence in this model to take it into account. This graph charts the daily death rate. The solid red line is the number of deaths that have been recorded. The dotted line that continues to the right side of the page marks the projections for the rest of the year. You can see with the red line that the death rate increased pretty dramatically in July and began to decline in August. We're still on the decline, which is then predicted to continue through the rest of October. However, the projection changes starting in November. The model predicts a modest increase from November to December, and then a dramatic increase from December to January. What this means is that if the model is accurate, we may need to return back to online-only services later in the fall, or respond to an increase in community spread in some way that protects everyone. So, keeping in mind that we are currently experiencing a moderate level of community spread, and that we may move into a substantial level of community spread in the fall, or we may move into a minimal level, let's look at our options. So first of all, number 1 describes online-only worship, which is streamed through Zoom and Facebook Live. In this form of worship, sanctuary attendance is just limited to a few people. We were in this stage early on until recently. Number 2 is online worship with some outdoor worship. This is where we currently are. Regular Sunday morning worship is limited to under 8 people in the sanctuary, and it is also supplemented by short outdoor evening services. Number 3 is a hybrid worship phase 1. This is worship that's done with a limited amount of congregants in the sanctuary, in addition to the musicians and the liturgists. The service is live streamed through Zoom and Facebook Live for everyone at home. For those who are in the sanctuary, masks are required, there is no singing, no communion, and social distancing must be observed. We are just now entering into this stage. We will start by inviting 10 participants to join worship on September 27th as a congregation. These people will be helping us to work through the visuals and the sound so that it meets the needs of both those in the sanctuary and those at home. We will continue to invite more people as we work out the kinks until we make it to 50% capacity, or a capacity that allows for 6 feet of distance between individuals and family groups, whichever comes first. Now, number 4 is hybrid worship phase 2. This will start when Maricopa County reaches the minimal level spread, and we can then increase the number of people in the sanctuary according to the guidelines. Masks will still be required. It's not recommended to allow people to go without masks at any of the thresholds, but if there is a case in which there's a person who has an extreme difficulty wearing a mask, there can be some exceptions at this stage, as long as it's only a few people and they can socially distance. At stage 4, we will still not have any singing, hugging, or handshakes. However, it may be possible to do communion with personal sealed packets. Number 5 marks a full return to normal in-person worship. Again, we have no idea when this will happen, but it will happen. So if, as the model predicts, we end up with a significant increase in community spread, we can move back to number 1 or number 2, depending on the need. If, however, there is no significant increase, we can move forward to hybrid worship phase 2. Now, this slide gives you a timeline of the session's decisions since March 16th, when all in-person events were canceled. If you read through these decisions, you'll see that the session has been acting with reasonable caution, and yet we have been moving forward by opening the offices back up, improving our technology, surveying the congregation, and developing an outdoor worship service. This timeline moves us into the future. On September 27th, we start hybrid worship phase 1, continuing to increase attendance through October. You'll also notice that the projected daily death rate through October is around 20. Next, we have 2 options in November and December. We can continue with hybrid phase 1 or go back to online worship depending on the infection rate. You will also notice that the projected daily death rate is 18 on November 1st, 31 on December 1st, and 81 on January 1st. We also have options to move into hybrid worship phase 2, or even possibly return to normal worship as well as we enter into 2021. This ends our slideshow. I hope it's given you a sense of where we're headed, what we have to consider, and what our hopes and concerns are. I want to acknowledge that it's difficult to talk about death rates in such a matter-of-fact way. I'm sorry that we have to deal with such serious issues. Though most of our congregation is in the higher risk group, we know that overall the risk of fatality with COVID is relatively low, and yet it is a complicated virus, and there is still much we don't understand about how it affects the body. Nevertheless, we're in a good position at this point. We can avoid anyone getting ill as a result of what we do on campus if we're thoughtful about how we move forward. We want to capitalize on that good fortune so that we can make it to our goal of returning to normal with as little harm as possible. Thank you all for taking the time to go through this slideshow. If you have any questions, you can call me on my cell phone. May God bless you and keep you in good health.